Hello and welcome to my review of the Engwe L20 2.0. It's a beautiful early morning in Michigan, 58 degrees, and it actually feels really good to be out on the bike. Now, if you don't know what this bike or what it's all about, it is a step-through foldable e-bike. And when I think about the foldable e-bikes, I almost compare them to an RV. And if you've never shopped for an RV, you know, it's almost impossible to find the perfect RV. There's always going to be a little bit of compromise. There's a lot of pros that you focus on to get what's almost the ideal one for you. And with this, that big pro is that it folds, allowing you to easily make it very small, fit it anywhere, and go to some special places. The downside, and I really think the compromises on this one are pretty minuscule. There's not too many things I have to complain about with most of these foldable bikes, and this one included. It tends to make you ride a little bit more upright. You don't get that natural, biker position just as naturally. It just kind of, the way the front post is so straight, and I don't know, the way it's structured, I just tend to ride more upright. And there's, some small cons to that. I did my swerve test. I'll show that on screen. And you can swerve with this, but you can't get into it quite as much. And maybe it's somewhat that I'm a taller guy, and when I do sit upright, my body weight's high and I have a high center of gravity. But you just don't get into the swerves as much. You can still very much do it, just not quite as much as a regular bike. But all in all, that's a pretty small detail when you think of the fact that you can fold this up in a very short amount of time and take it to magical places and do some really special things. Just throw it in the back seat of your car or however you want to transport it. It gets very small. So let's talk about that first. How well does this thing fold up? Well, it blows my mind away, to be honest. Here I am riding this bike that feels extremely secure. It feels like it's, one solid piece. Doesn't feel like it's gonna collapse at all, or it's capable of collapsing. It just feels solid. Yet, in about 5 seconds, I could have this thing folded into a very small size. And in 5 more seconds, it's unfolded and ready to hit the road. I'll show it on screen, but it works really well. Easy to fold, no big deal. Anybody's gonna be able to do it. It's a breeze, and then it just snaps right back into place, and you put the levers up, they click in, and you're locked in, ready to go. And again, I feel very secure on this bike. I feel like it's very well built. I don't feel like it's got hinges all over the place. No issues there. Very happy with how it folds. So that is great, because if you're gonna buy a folding e-bike, that's gotta be the main reason you're looking at it. If you don't need a folding e-bike, you don't need to get it small and have it transported that way, I personally wouldn't get a folding e-bike. I would get one that's more customized to what you want, and has some other features and functionality, and doesn't have the upright ride that this one has. But if that's a feature that's a golden ticket for you, like that's gonna allow me to use that bike and take it places, oh man, this bike is awesome. I'm really enjoying it. And if you found this video helpful at all, and don't mind telling the YouTube algorithm what's up, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps a ton. Comment down below. Tell me what you'd like to see on this channel. Very much appreciate it. Let's talk about power for a second. I generally, in bikes, I kind of think about if they're slow, medium, or fast. Slow would be, it just has no down low power, it has struggles to get through hills. It loses, if you're at full speed and you go into a hill, you're losing speed. And too much speed, I try to think about who the majority of people are. There's gonna obviously be people that don't want much power. They don't want to be scared on e-bikes. There's gonna be people that want power. They want that thrill ride. Most people are gonna want somewhere in the middle, and that's very much where this bike falls, and in a very good way. I am very happy with the power, and most people that get this bike, I think, are gonna find it ideal. And the reason I say that is, from a stop, this has plenty of torque to get you going. It doesn't have that slow ramp up where you're trying to go, you're like, come on, bike, let's go. It goes. It's great. It's average. It's not throwing you off the back. It doesn't feel intimidating, but it has plenty to feel good and, haul through a city, get through intersections, things like that. So very happy from that perspective. And then as far as continuing that acceleration, if you're on a flat road, if you're going into a hill, if you are accelerating from a slow speed up a steep hill, it can handle all those with ease. And to be honest, it gets to its top speed of what I'm noticing is 21.4 quite easily. Now, you may have noticed if you've looked at their website that it says it can go faster than that. The way this bike is configured is full throttle. If you go throttle only, I think it says a 20 mile per hour limit. I've been seeing this get to 21.4, I believe is what if I remember correctly. So that's the speed you get. But if you pedal at PAS 5, it will go up to, I think, theoretically 28 miles per hour. And there's good and bad to this. I hate ghost pedaling, which is where when the bike and the motor are working so much that it's getting you up to a speed that when you go to pedal, there's nothing behind the pedal. There's no more resistance. You've outran the gearing that's available, basically. And the way I'm seeing this bike function is if I'm at PS4 and I go to full throttle, the bike, I would say, is doing 90% of the work. I am not what I would say ghost pedaling, but there's very little there. I can pedal, I can take my hand off the throttle, I can let the bike do it, and I can still feel that resistance a little bit. It's not a lot. You're not gonna be getting much exercise. You almost feel like you're pedaling for nothing. I'm not a big fan of that. I wish there was more gearing, so I'm still working. I'm extending the range because I know I'm putting in more of the work and getting that exercise. If I go up to PS5 and I pedal, it's gonna go up to an even higher speed, but the problem is you then really get into ghost pedaling territory. The resistance pretty much goes away and you have to kind of keep spinning your legs to keep it going, but there's very little there and you almost wanted to spin your feet out of the pedals at time. So there you go, it does get up to 28, so it's capable. So if you're willing to deal with what I would say is mostly a ghost pedaling situation, a tiny bit of resistance there, you can get this thing going up to 28 miles per hour. You just need to really understand that and kind of compare it to how you want to ride it. What speeds do you want to travel at? Because I will say the other thing is, if you dial it down to PS3, I think it's going to stay at about 15 miles per hour. And then you do get the exercise. You get the ability to work with the bike and feel like it's challenging you. You're now outrunning those gears. You're not getting ghost pedaling. So very, very much a how you're going to ride it. But personally, as someone that likes to go a little faster, I wish the gearing was set up in a way to where at 20 and 28 miles per hour, I'm still working more. I'm not getting into ghost pedaling territory, so something to consider. Outside of that, I am enjoying the functionality as far as what you get on the handlebar here. Typical Shimano shifter that's on pretty much every e-bike, so we know that works well. The screen is color, it's very detailed, it's crisp, it's easy to read and see, so that is great, easy to work with. It does have a different button console here than I have ever seen before, and I like it. It's sneaky. It has 5 different buttons built into it. And then the bottom one is your headlight. And again, I love having a headlight button. I want to be able to easily turn that off with a button, not having to hit a sequence. So great that they got that, and it's sneaky and small, so I really like that actually. Little bell right there. Quarter twist throttle works really well. I've been playing with the whole ride. And so overall, just ride comfort, you know, what you get and how you use this, very easy to jump into. Anybody's be able to take advantage of it and feel good about it. Wire management is very well done. Out of the box comes like that. I did not have to put these, I don't even know, spiral wraps on. They're already done. So right away, very, very clean. And I'm always a big fan of that. It just gives you a better feeling about the bike and how they take care of it when it's a mess. It does have the ability to lock and unlock the suspension. So when you're on the roads and you just want it locked in, you don't want necessarily taking out the roads. If you got a smooth road, you just want to feel more connected, you lock it up. But if you're getting off roads or areas like this that are more bumpy, I probably should have it unlocked right now. I just locked it to test that side of things. You can unlock it and it'll take some of that out and give you some suspension to the bike, which is great. I haven't talked too much about the step-through design. I think this is actually the first step-through bike I've tested. My wife has one, so I'm more than familiar with them. And as a big guy, I always just overlook these step-throughs because it's easy for me to step over with that bar when it's right here. But I will say, in watching my kids and just other people that are test riding my e-bikes, having that step-through is so nice because you can so easily get on and off your bike. If you do need to stop quickly and you know you're at that spot where that bar is right there, it's nice just to not have it. Yeah, even though it feels like without that bar, this bike wouldn't be as strong. It maybe a little bit weaker and more likely to break. It feels no different. It feels very well built, secure, and not like I'm going to run into any issues. So, if you're not a tall person and you've been bouncing between a step through or a typical, it's actually very nice for the convenience of getting on and off real easy and stopping situations. And as far as braking goes, I'm gonna say average, but a good average. It's still, when you squeeze these, it's not an instant response. It's the typical response you get this type of braking system, but it still can brake you pretty quickly for a bike that can get up to 28 miles per hour. When you hit it, and if you really hit both hard, you feel very controlled, but it stops relatively quickly. It's not a super high-end system. It's not anything I'm gonna say, wow, that braking is amazing, but it's enough to get the job done, and it feels good. So I don't think you have to have any worries there unless you're looking for something just next level when it comes to braking. And overall comfort in the seat under me, I'm feeling pretty good. I actually really am enjoying this. You know, as someone that hasn't put a whole lot of time into these foldables, outside of these Michigan roads that are just beyond terrible, that bounce you around a little bit, this bike's handling it really well. I feel very in control. I feel comfortable. The seat under me feels very comfortable, and I am very much enjoying the experience. So if this is a bike you're gonna fold up and take places and get to have experiences with because of that folding design, I think you're gonna very much enjoy it. A very all-around balanced bike as far as abilities, features, power, control, comfort. It's really checking off a lot of boxes. And if I remember correctly, I should have looked. I believe it was sitting at $800 last I looked, which you're getting so much for that price point. It's amazing what you're getting for bikes these days. I would have thought this bike would have been more expensive. So very cool there. So I don't know how it looks like on camera, but this segment right here is extremely steep. And I remember when I was testing the Jason mountain bike recently, it would have never even went up this. I would have turned the throttle and it would have went. So let's do a little test with this bike, which I described as an average power. Now we're in that rolling resistance of the grass. Give it some throttle. You could tell it's working, but it's climbing through it. So power-wise, that's a good thing. Let me get a little more testing done and I'll get back to you. All right, so now that I've been out here for a minute, I am gonna stick to, this is not a bike that you would seek off-roading. Power-wise, it has more than enough. I can throttle through some really nasty stuff here that's really dragging the bike down, and it's getting it through it just fine. So that's a great thing. It does have a little bit smaller diameter wheels on it, so in this very tall junk I'm riding through, I'm very much in it, as opposed to, a fat tire e-bike where, it's gonna have you up above it a little bit more, so something to consider. And it does feel, I can feel a lot of the ground coming through. It's very, very, very bumpy out here. The conditions are beyond what just about anybody it's gonna really go through, and that's why I like to test here. But I can notice this bike transferring a lot of that more to me. A lot of the bikes from the rear part of the bike, they just don't transfer the bumps to you as much, and I can really feel it in this bike. So this bike is definitely a bike that I would say you could take anywhere. If you're going to ride it and doing roads and you find yourself in a segment that's a little bit more gnarly, you're gonna be able to do it. It's gonna be able to get through it. It's got, the fat tires. It's got the ability to ride above the stuff. It's got the power to get through it. It's just definitely not something that you're gonna seek. You're definitely gonna get other bikes if that's something you wanna do on a more frequent basis, but it's capable. So that's good to know. All right, I said it's early and it's dewy and I made a mess of this thing going off-roading, but hey, you gotta test these things out, right? And, final thoughts with this bike, I didn't know what to expect coming into it, and I'm thoroughly impressed. It does have that cargo rack there, didn't talk about that. It doesn't have the typical horn on it, that high-pitched horn they have. It just has the little thumb bell that I showed you. So that's one thing to consider. But other than that, it checks off all the features you're normally looking through it for. It does have the headlight, comfortable seat, step-through design, fold so easy. And if that's what you're looking for, you want something that can fold up and go anywhere, but when you put it back together, it feels very, very good under you. This bike checked off all those boxes. I was thoroughly happy for it. Obviously, you got to match the bike up with what your interests are, and you want that to be it, folding being the key element here. But if that's what you want, and you don't want anything too extreme in either direction, that's what this bike was. It's that perfect middle ground for most people. So big thumbs up from me from that perspective if that matches you. I do have a link in the description, so if you do consider getting this, it helps the channel out a ton and helps these reviews keep coming because I want to keep doing this. It's a lot of fun. Like and subscribe if you don't mind, but I appreciate it. Until next one, have a great one.